Well, hello, welcome to This Month in Hamilton, our December 2024 edition. I want to start out, as I always do, by thanking WBCB 1490 AM for allowing us each and every month to bring you what's going on this month in Hamilton. I want to also thank our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman, Ford-Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So we're taping this in the middle of December 2024. I want to start out by wishing all of you a happy and healthy holiday season, Happy New Year. I hope you have the ability to enjoy time with your loved ones, friends, family, whoever you love and want to spend time with this holiday season, that you get the opportunity to do so and take some time off and really just relax a little bit through another hectic year. You get a little bit of downtime in your life. If you need something enjoyable to do, I want you to head over to Cruiser Park. We have the Christmas tree lit. We have decorations up. It is so much fun to see, and we just did the tree lighting 10 days ago or so. Got great feedback. Our Public Works and Recreation departments put a phenomenal amount of work and their heart and soul into decorating it for our residents. So if you haven't been to Cruiser Park, we hope you get out there this holiday season and enjoy it with your family. If you can't make it there, I have to say there are a number now, a growing number of private homeowners in town who go all out for holiday decorating at their own house. Everybody's familiar with Martell's, right? And having won the ABC Christmas Challenge, you now got their second year Lights on Apollo. So right across the street from Sunnybray Elementary School, the lights sync to music. So a great thing to see. We've already taken my 4-year-old there as well. But there are a number of people in town who do a phenomenal job in decorating, who go all out in decorating, who really are trying to bring that holiday spirit, that holiday cheer to all of us, to all of our families. Speaking of bringing holiday cheer to all of us, I want to thank the Hamilton Township FMBA, the Hamilton Township PBA, our Department of Public Works. There's people who volunteer their time to ride a fire truck, to drive a police vehicle chasing after the Grinch, to be Santa's helper, not Santa's helper. He may look like Santa. For those kids listening, it's just Santa's helper, or the Grinch, right? And bring that holiday joy to every single home in Hamilton, to every single street in Hamilton. So everybody, regardless of your age, regardless of whether you can leave the house or not, you can get to the mall or not, you have the opportunity, your loved ones, your kids have the opportunity to see Santa Claus come by on a fire truck this year. Now we know that Santa hasn't been able to visit every street yet in Hamilton. While we had 6 or 8 weeks of no rain, it seems like over the last week it's been almost every other night we've had rain or poor weather or mist that's prevented Santa's helper from getting around. But I just talked to the FMBA this morning. They are committed to making sure we visit every street in town. So if you haven't seen Santa yet, if they haven't driven by your house yet, please just be patient. I promise you they are making every effort to get to your house. So again, lots to do in this holiday season. I know you've got to get shopping done. I know you've got to get baking done and cooking done and all those good things, but there's plenty of opportunities to just relax a little bit, to enjoy the lights, to enjoy the decorations, to enjoy what the township or the volunteers or even your own neighbors have done to bring holiday cheer and holiday spirit to all of us today. In terms of what's coming next year, next month, obviously the last 2 weeks kind of slow in the township as people are taking time off to spend time with their loved ones and get ready for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever holiday they celebrate. But right on the heels, we have our annual Dr. Martin Luther King tribute at Faith Baptist Church on Cruiser Road. That's across the entrance from Veterans Park South. And so you'll start seeing the around town signs go up about that. Already planned and details being finalized. So if you haven't been, please come out. The committee gives out scholarships each year. They have a musical performance both by the church as well as the last 2 years by the Steinert Jazz Band. And so it's just a great community event to honor Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy in town. And so I hope you can make it out for that. Trust me, I am watching the weather on a white four-letter word that starts with S and ends in O. OW. I don't like to say it because it means we're going to be getting lots of calls about street plowing, but we're keeping our eye on that as well. Our public works fleet is prepped and ready should we have to get into gear, but just know, knock wood, at least from my seat, it doesn't look like we're supposed to be getting that white stuff through the end of this year, but we are prepped and ready to go should we get it this year or in 2025. So if you like this stuff, I used to before I had this job, go to the Poconos or certainly go to Buffalo. They seem to already have 5, 6, 7 feet of it already. So joining us today, we have Vince Solomeno from the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. He's going to be joining us to talk about his role as a Deputy Commissioner there, but more so, what are the programs that the department has, especially to help veterans? As we go into the holiday season, it often is a very trying time for veterans. Many have PTSD or other ailments, either physical, mental, or both, from their time of serving our country. And so there are a host of programs New Jersey does to make sure our veterans have a great quality of life. As a veteran myself, I certainly appreciate them, but we want to make sure those who are veterans have the knowledge of every single program that's out there, because some programs are federal, some programs are state, some may even be county or local, and so there's a lot out there, and we felt, especially at this time of year when unfortunately suicide rates are a little higher around the holidays, we want to make sure our veterans know that there are programs out there to help them. There are people out there committed to helping them. There are entire organizations out there committed to helping them. So we're going to talk to Vince in just a little bit and hear from him about his background, what he's doing as the Deputy Commissioner, what the governor's initiatives are, and really how can we get these things down to the ground level. So whether you're a veteran, a loved one, a friend, a neighbor, maybe a veteran, if you know they need help, maybe if you don't even know they need help, right? And you casually mention some of these things to them, we want to make sure people are getting the help they need. And I know a big one we're going to be talking about is homelessness. And as we get into these colder months, right, making sure no veteran is homeless, that every veteran has a dry, warm place to lay their head each and every evening, each and every night. So we're going to take a short break. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot I want to get to in talking to Vince. So we're going to take a short break and be back with him in just a little bit and talk about, like I said, all the things the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs are doing for our veterans.
Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org. Kessel Dermatology in Hamilton Square is an award-winning dermatology practice led by Dr. Daniel Kessel, a board-certified dermatologist. He and his expert staff treat patients of all ages. They offer treatments of all types of skin, hair, and nail conditions, and annual skin cancer screenings, anti-aging treatments, ultraviolet A and B light treatments, skin tightening procedures, Botox, and other treatments that enhance your skin's overall health and appearance. Kessel Dermatology is open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. For appointments, call 609-890-2600. That's 609-890-2600. Or visit KesselDermatology.com. They're at 1700 Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road. Kessel Dermatology. They're good! Hamilton Township in Mercer County is fortunate to have many fine businesses that serve our community. Saul Funeral Home is a fourth-generation family-owned business proud to support our local schools and community. Their compassionate and caring staff is there for you and your family. They'll bring the closure you deserve while also celebrating the life of your loved one. Visit their website at saulfuneralhomes.com. That's saulfuneralhomes.com. Saul Funeral Home at 3795 Nottingham Way, Hamilton Square.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. Want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman, Ford, and Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So, Vince, good morning.
Good morning, Mayor.
Thanks for joining us today.
It's really my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, in the first segment, I was telling our listeners just a little bit about you, right? Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, Deputy Commissioner. But if you can just tell our listeners a little bit about you and kind of how you wound up in your current role and what your current role is.
Sure. As you mentioned, my title is Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs and then Administrator of Veterans Affairs for our great state. But like you, probably the best title that I carry is that of a veteran. I served in the United States Army. I've served on active duty, reserve duty, and I currently serve in the National Guard, where I'm a major. I'm the XO of a Brigade Engineer Battalion here in New Jersey. And this week, we're welcoming home one of the largest deployments we've seen since World War II, so I want to give a shout out to the soldiers and their families who have been deployed for the last year into some pretty touchy areas in the Middle East, and thankfully they are going to be home by Christmas, so we are just pleased on behalf of their big New Jersey family.
I'm sure it's such a relief for them, and I know you talked about the families, right, but such relief for their families to have them home now for the holidays too, right?
Yes, and you think, I know from experience that oftentimes when you're the person who's deployed forward, you've got a mission, you've got something to do each day. It is oftentimes just as much of a challenge to be a family member who is home. That 10-month period of a deployment or 11th month goes a lot longer, I think, for husbands and wives and parents and folks like that.
I think it's harder. I mean, first, thank you for your service, right? Having served myself, I got the tough assignment of England for 4 years, right, with the Air Force. I think it was harder on my now wife, then girlfriend and fiance, right? My parents. I knew what I was doing each day, right? I knew what my mission was each day. They didn't, right? So they didn't know if something was happening to me 3,000 miles away or I was about to get an order to go somewhere else, right? It's often, I say, easier to be that the member who's deployed than their family back home.
Absolutely. And thank you for your service, Mayor. Appreciate every New Jersey, and we've got about 300,000 New Jersey residents who have served in the armed forces, and I think that it's a testament. In my job, I have the best job, because in my job, I get to go across our state from High Point to Cape May and share state-delivered benefits, programs, and services that are provided not only by the New Jersey Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, but about every other state agency, whether that spans from education to housing to access to health care to counseling, which is incredibly important. Mm-hmm. So, I have the best job in New Jersey, hands down. I know the mayor of Hamilton may feel differently, but
some days are better than others. I'll tell you that, right? It's not all days of giving out great programs and services.
That's right.
You just mentioned like a few areas, though. How do you keep track of all the different programs, right, that the state has to offer, as well as, as I said, there's federal programs as well, right, and everything like that?
So it's one, I work beside teams of teams. About 1,500 civilian employees of our department are working each day, whether they are providing direct care in our veteran homes, our long-term care facilities, which are located in Paramus, Menlo Park, and Vineland. And I'm going to give a plug. Paramus was rated in 2023 a 5-star, the highest you can be facility by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. That's the result of health inspections. That's the result of staffing levels, and then what we call quality measures, which is how we care for the veterans, veteran spouses, and Gold Star families within our facilities. Mm-hmm. And just last week, Vineland, which is our southernmost home in Cumberland County, achieved a 5-star rating.
Oh, wow.
So we are 2 out of the 3. Our goal is 5 stars across the board, and I'm confident we'll get there. But there's direct care folks in those homes. We've got people who work frankly, some of the hardest jobs in our Veterans Haven North and South. So the state operates transitional housing facilities for veterans. In addition, the state operates the busiest veteran cemetery in the United States, the Doyle Cemetery in the
Not far away
Wrightstown
from
area.
here. Yep.
No. And that's a dignified, solemn resting place for veterans, their spouses, and their dependents. The people who do that every day to make sure that it remains that, they are the superstars in my
Sure.
organization. And so we have across New Jersey, thankfully, thanks to Governor Murphy, as well as the leadership of the Adjutant General, Brigadier General Yvonne Mays, we were able to open a Veteran Service Office as a point of entry in each of our 21 counties. So here in Mercer County, our Veteran Service Office is located in Lawrenceville on Eggerts Crossing Road. But when I came into this role, we realized that not all 21 counties had that point of entry. And when folks are walking into those offices, they're meeting with a trained and accredited veteran service officer, and they're learning about, as you noted in the opening, local, county, state, and federal benefits that they or their spouse have earned through their service. Yeah. So we're, again, best job in the world. That cadre of veteran service officers in calendar year 2023, I should have the numbers by the end of this month for 24, they brought in over $130 million in first-time benefits from the federal government.
First-time benefits.
First time. That's the first month's payment. So it helps them. It helps our economy. And I think it speaks to the values that we have as Americans for those who've served and may have been injured in the course of their service.
Absolutely. Kudos to you for keeping all that just on the top of your head, right? Now I know why you have the role you do, because it's certainly a lot, right? And I think sometimes, even as a veteran myself, right, I'm sure you know the programs, right? It becomes a little overwhelming to remember all the different programs, who's running it, who's administering it, right? So what advice do you have for your average veteran out there, right? Maybe it's going to Eggerts Crossing, or do they do walk-ins? Do they do appointments? For somebody who's just maybe finishing and coming home, right, from active duty, and they did their 4, 6, and out. What do you recommend for them?
Well, one, I would recommend anyone who's on their phone or at a computer go to nj.gov/military. That website is for my department, Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Again, we're not the federal VA. We're the state. We provide state benefits, programs, and services. But when they're on that page, they can access resources. For example, we just updated and published a comprehensive resource guide for service members, veterans, and their families. That has resources by county, by service area. But really, that website will point them to a point of entry. So here in Mercer County, I would encourage folks to go to Eggerts Crossing Road and meet with a veteran service officer to learn about what it is they may be entitled to. And it varies. It really runs the spectrum because everyone's need is different. But in a state where our motto is liberty and prosperity, the least we owe to those who've worn a uniform is to give them those services that they've earned through their service.
And for those who aren't familiar with Eggerts Crossing Road, right off 206, right behind essentially Rider University there, right? Pretty easy to get to off 295, etc. Pretty centrally located in the county as well.
That's right. And if there's folks listening or driving from another county, we've got one in each of our 21 counties. And to talk about how that is a game changer, there was only 14, a little roughly over a year ago. And thanks to Governor Murphy and bipartisan majorities in the legislature, we've expanded that so that folks, especially in rural areas in New Jersey, as well as our urban centers, they now have a more accessible way to get to these services. And so I bring it up to say, walk into any one of them. You could be from Mercer County and go down to Burlington, vice versa. We've got folks there who are ready and interested in helping.
That's awesome. You mentioned the Menlo Park care facility, right? So I grew up in Edison. Don't invite me back, but I sang there as a kid holiday songs, right? So that might have lifted the spirits when I was like 8 years old. I don't think it's going to work now at 40 years old, right? But it was important for kids, right, to get in, right, and appreciate and see some of those who were in there and veterans and serving their country and making sure they felt appreciated by so many young ones in the state, right? And so I'm sure there's even things like that going on, because I think what makes New Jersey so special and what America's so special. We want to support our veterans.
That's right.
And I know that's probably why you say you got the best job, because you get to see that each and every day.
That's right. And first, I'll be at the Menlo Park Veterans Memorial Home in 2 days for their holiday party, so you're welcome to come and join the carolers.
I just won't be singing.
Oh, okay.
Let the professional or kid carolers do what they need to do.
We're having our holiday celebrations all month across our facilities, and I'll be in Menlo this week to share in the joy with the residents and with the staff. And really, this is made possible by volunteer work by the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans, the Jewish War Veterans, the Vietnam Veterans of America, the organizations, the Elks, right, a fraternal organization, maybe not focused wholly on veterans, but the Bowlers of America. I recently met with them while they were doing volunteer activities in one of our facilities. The generosity of people, I think it speaks to our shared values, but it also, to me, reminds me that we could not do our work without those force multipliers, without the people who go into our facilities each day to ensure that we're not only providing quality care, which we are, and the independent inspections bear that out, but that we are providing a nice community for those who live in our homes. And to me, it's evident every time I walk through those doors. And we'll continue to seek areas to improve, but it's really special, especially around this time of year.
I'm sure. You talked a little bit about the general, right, as part of the department. So take us through the adjutant general. I can never get that one right? What kind of, who she is, right, but more specifically, what her role is in the state, for those who may not know.
So the adjutant general is a cabinet level position here in the state of New Jersey. We've had adjutants general since the Declaration of Independence, since New Jersey became a state. And the role of that general officer, they're a general, she's a brigadier general, is to lead the roughly 8,400 citizen soldiers and airmen of the New Jersey Army and Air National Guard. And in addition, the adjutant general leads state-delivered veterans benefits programs and services. So pretty big role, and Yvonne Mays is the first black woman to serve in the position of the adjutant general since 1776.
Wow.
She's a native of Burlington County. She's been in the United States Air Force for 41 years.
Wow.
She likes to tell people she enlisted at the age of 8. I joke because I'm not quite 41 yet, so I literally work for someone who's been in a uniform longer than I've been alive. But she is dynamic, previously served as the Deputy Adjutant General and a wing commander, and she entered her position July 1st of 2024, was unanimously confirmed by the Senate, and is, frankly, working to make sure that our soldiers get home, that our airmen execute their rotational deployments, as well as, and I'm so proud of this, leading our effort together with Governor Murphy to ensure that we are investing more, doing more, and achieving more for Garden State veterans than at any time in the history of New Jersey.
Wow. 41 years, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope she doesn't see this. But it's in her bio, so.
There you go. I mean, she put it out publicly herself.
She put it out, but again, as she points out, she enlisted when she was 8 years old.
So then it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Look, I was part of the Judge Advocate General Corps. That's why I can't say adjutant. I still won't get that one right? But I, too, enlisted at 8. So, I mean, it's the going trend, right? But I'm sure she's excited and got the energy now to take on that role, too.
Yes,
right?
she does.
And it's got to be inspiring to work for somebody, right, like that.
Again, best job in the state. I work on great teams of teams who are dedicated to what they're doing. And that begins with the adjutant general, begins at the top. It begins with the support, right? And part of it is you mentioned, like, oh, best job. Well, that's because I walk into the halls of Trenton in our state house. Democrats, Republicans, independents, everyone wants to find a way to take care of veterans and their families. And so this job is made possible under the leadership of the governor, the adjutant general, but the support of, frankly, everybody that works in public policy in the state, because I have seen the improvements over the course of the last several years in terms of what we offer, and I couldn't be more proud.
Awesome. So, Vince, I know there's a lot of programs we have to get to. There's some, I think, that'll spend more time to highlight than others, right? But we're going to take a short break because I don't want to give those programs short shrift here, right? But when we come back, we'll continue talking to Vince about some of the great programs the department has for all our veterans here in New Jersey.
Merrill Reese, here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford-Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford-Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford-Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford-Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. Kessel Dermatology in Hamilton Square is an award-winning dermatology practice led by Dr. Daniel Kessel, a board-certified dermatologist. He and his expert staff treat patients of all ages. They offer treatments of all types of skin, hair, and nail conditions, and annual skin cancer screenings, anti-aging treatments, ultraviolet A and B light treatments, skin tightening procedures, Botox, and other treatments that enhance your skin's overall health and appearance. Kessel Dermatology is open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. For appointments, call 609-890-2600. That's 609-890-2600. Or visit KesselDermatology.com. They're at 1700 Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road. Kessel Dermatology. They're good.
Welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. I want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford and Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So Vince, when we left, we were talking about, a lot of the programs that are going on in the department, right? But I know you're very proud to be working on one related to Functional Zero veterans homelessness. So what is that? What's the charge? What's the goal? Give us kind of some of the information on what that is.
Absolutely. Mayor, earlier this year, the governor gave his budget address, probably February of 2024, and in that address, he announced his plan to effectively end veteran homelessness in the Garden State. And governor's initiative operated under the Department of Community Affairs, DCA, in tight partnership with my agency, the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. And thankfully, again, overwhelming support from folks from all walks of life in government, and we are in the process right now of taking roughly 1,164 veterans who are unhoused and finding them emergency housing that might take the form of a hotel stay. We're going to connect them with case management, which we have not done before in this state for this community, and then in the long term we've surged existing vouchers. So I don't know about you, but I don't like it when government comes along and they create a whole new agency, a whole new program. We've taken existing housing vouchers and we've expanded the number of them.
Oh, wow.
And we've dedicated those vouchers to veterans and their families. So roughly 1,164 today. Our goal is to achieve functional zero, and that's what we mean by effectively ending veteran homelessness. Taking the by name roster that we have, getting those folks into housing, because we believe that in the long term, homelessness is always going to be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part of the society we live in, not just for veterans, but for everyone. But 30 folks who are unhoused is much easier to manage than 1,164.
Yeah.
So very excited about this initiative. It's called Bringing Veterans Home.
I know 1,164 in a state of 9 million, right? Doesn't sound like a big number. But to identify all those people, connect with all those people, get caseworkers to all those people, right? Vouchers, housing, it's a huge undertaking.
It is. And there's a lot of smart folks at the Department of Community Affairs, PhDs, who know the lessons learned, the evidence-based approach to this, and I am confident that we will achieve this, and it'll probably be the most impactful thing that I have the opportunity to do during the course of my tenure. I said earlier that we live in a state where our motto is liberty and prosperity. How in God's name could we have veterans who don't have a roof over their head when we look around us, this state, frankly, is one of the most prosperous in the whole United States.
Yeah. When you think of Pavlov's hierarchy of needs, right? Housing is right at the top of that.
Yes.
And so everything functions off of that then, right? For the veterans, for their dependents, right? Their family members. Once you know you've got a safe and warm place to sleep, you can start building off of that, right? And so I imagine as a wraparound service, right, with the caseworkers, that's the goal, right, is to get them into housing and then start really building them up from there.
That's right, and everyone's need is going to be different. So I met a veteran in Hudson County who worked for a big bank in New York City, the last person that you would think would be homeless. He went through some life issues. He started to use alcohol more than he should, and he found himself sleeping in his car. And so we need to have the understanding that, I don't know that he was a stockbroker, but a person in finance might find themselves in this situation who's an Iraq veteran or an Afghanistan veteran. Equally so, there are Vietnam veterans who are living in encampments not far from here in different parts of New Jersey. And so everyone's needs are different, and we are doing our best to tailor a program that will meet those needs where they are. And I bring it up because we will have case management, but it's a whole of government approach. We will have street outreach teams as the other pillar of this, the state's divided up into 6 regions, and those outreach teams will go out into encampments to talk to the veterans, because not everyone's going to want to access the program when they begin this. But have that conversation, let them know that we're there for them, and then as they move into the case management, we get them, I just want them off the street, right? That's job one. But as we move into it, we will have the ability through our veteran service officers that I referenced in our previous segment to connect them, because perhaps it's job training at the county college, perhaps it's food insecurity, so we can get them to make sure that they're having food and they can feed themselves or, God forbid, their families. Being able to take a holistic approach to their needs. I have a very strong anecdotal feeling that many of the individuals we encounter will want to access. The state of New Jersey has no cost PTSD counseling for veterans and those that they consider family. It's free.
Wow.
We provide transportation to it. Many people don't know about it. About 5,000 veterans accessed it last year. If anyone's listening and they want to learn more about it, go to our website, go talk to a veteran service officer. But I think that we can't just put them into an apartment and say, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
No, we have to work with them on what I view as a journey to stability, a journey to dignity. It's the least that we can do.
And for your team, understanding that there's 1,164 individual people who have individual needs and individual goals and individual life circumstances, right? Makes it that much more challenging, but probably that much more exciting to try to help too.
It does, and we could not do this. Again, go back to creating a program, right? It's not, we're from the government and we're here to help. We're going to achieve this goal by bringing in our partners, our force multipliers, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, VVA, Catholic Veterans of America, Military Order of the Purple Heart. There is a robust list of organizations who are committed to this work, and I love seeing everybody around the table, because often it's the local post or the local chapter, in the case of the DAV, who encounters a homeless veteran in the Walmart parking lot on a Friday night. And before bringing veterans home, this initiative, the solution was ad hoc. Those men and women who were in those posts would reach into their pockets, put the person up in a hotel for the weekend, and then try and get them into services. Well, now we're formally partnering with them. They'll know to call a street outreach team, and we will be able to take that burden off them, and perhaps they can use those resources to help the community in other ways. But we can't do this without our incredible partners.
So I was going to ask even, right? So mom or dad have lost track of their son, who they know is somewhere in New Jersey and probably homeless. What do you recommend to them? What do you recommend to a family member who thinks, maybe they even know where their son or daughter is, right, in an encampment, in terms of helping them, right, maybe through you or maybe through a VSO? What would you recommend to them?
And that's sad. It's sad to think that there are families who may be encountering that struggle, especially
Yeah.
around the holidays.
Or they've seen the person sleeping in their car at Walmart, right? They don't know if they're a veteran or not,
Right.
even, right?
So a few different thoughts come to mind, Mayor. One, if a family has questions about the veteran benefits that their loved one might be entitled to, call one of our offices. If a family member knows someone who's homeless, let's just say anyone, not just family. If you know someone who is homeless, call 211, right? And we will begin the process of getting them into emergency housing and on the path to stability. And lastly, I think this is important to say around the holidays, if an individual is in crisis, if they have suicidal ideation, the first thing to do is 988 and then dial 1, and that gets you to the veterans line,
okay.
Which we are seeing the success of 988 since the reboot. I hate to even term it that way, the success, but the effectiveness of it has been profound in terms of connecting veterans with mental health support.
So let's segue a little bit into mental health support, right? Because even as a mayor, what I've seen is so many of our homeless have some sort of mental health challenge, right? And it doesn't mean they're suicidal, but it just means they have a mental health challenge. Some may be suicidal at some point, right? Do you have programs for veterans' mental health? I know you talked about the PTSD program already, right? But what's the department involvement with veterans and mental health?
So the short answer is lots and yes. The loss of one veteran to suicide is one loss too many. And so when we think about our priorities, this is up there, number 3, number 4, homelessness, mental health resilience, which leads to suicide prevention. I have the privilege of serving as the chair of the Governor's Challenge to prevent suicide among service members, veterans, and their families. And it's not just this governor, but governors in every state and territory across the United States have joined in this initiative, Democrats, Republicans, independents. And we bring together folks from the federal partners, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. We've got nonprofit partners who are here in the community who oftentimes have, as you know, being a mayor, it's our nonprofit leaders who have the greatest awareness of some of the tactical challenges that we face. We also work with mental health professionals, my colleagues at the New Jersey Department of Human Services, the New Jersey Department of Health. And in the broad sense, we want to identify veterans, get them screened, a mental health screening. That's priority 1 of the Governor's Challenge. 2, we want to promote community, get a sense of, I call it the stickiness factor, because we have found that if folks are connected to their community here in Hamilton, to organizations, they are much less likely to experience suicidal ideation. And then 3rd, lethal means safety, which is not gun control, but trying to create as much time and space between an individual in crisis and the lethal means that they could use for suicide. And so that might mean options for safe firearms storage. It might mean just calling a buddy, as I've experienced when someone called me to say, hey, I'm having a rough time. Can you take my weapon and just kind of keep it in your safe for a while? Working with folks like that to again, create the time and space for lethal means safety. That's the umbrella. But what are we doing? No-cost PTSD counseling. I think that's the game changer that the state offers.
5,000 people a year is
Right.
a lot of people, right? And that you're helping and assisting.
Right. And we do so as part of it's a continuum of care, as they call it. But the VA, the Vet Center, here in Mercer County, there's one in Ewing, and that's a federal center that provides counseling support to veterans. Started after Vietnam with veterans just getting together in peer groups, and the federal government, in their wisdom, has formalized it. So in New Jersey, we have vet centers in different areas of the state. Closest one to Hamilton is Ewing. Again, no-cost counseling for veterans. In addition, I've seen some really innovative work in southern New Jersey. So there's a gentleman named Pat Carney, who works for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. He has been working in peer support. And that I think is the next chapter of how we help to improve mental health resilience. We are finding that, yes, it's great to talk to a provider, but the outcomes of preventing suicide are enhanced when the individual has a fellow veteran to talk to. And so down in southern New Jersey, Atlantic County, other parts, maybe a little bit of Cape May and Salem, Pat Carney and his team are leading the way for the United States. I would expect within a year the program that they've developed is going to be rolled out in many other parts of the country.
Wow. No wonder you're so excited to go to work each day, right?
I get to see
You get to
all
help
the great
people,
work.
right? Yeah.
We try to.
Yeah. Again, right? So much of you and I as veterans and now public servants, right? It's about trying to help people, help our community, help those in need, right? And it sounds like you and the governor and the general are committed to that each and every day.
Trying to. And I joke with my teams when I visit them that the worst thing I need to worry about is a paper cut. but there are folks like Pat Carney, folks who are out there literally in the trenches, which is probably not a good word to use when we're talking about veterans, but who are doing that hard work. I view my job as making sure they've got the resources, making sure they've got the talent, the funds, and then helping to share the good news with communities like Hamilton. So it is great. And one of the most remarkable things that I've learned in this role in my time as the deputy commissioner and administrator is so often we're quick to point a finger and say, government messed this up, government did this wrong. But what I'm learning in my role is oftentimes we don't put the solution in front of the policymakers to say, hey, here is a problem, veteran homelessness. For years, people talked about, why do we have homeless veterans? Well, thanks to the work of a whole lot of smart people, we now have a plan to get us closer to that goal. And so what I love the most about my job is seeing intelligent folks get together, put a solution in front of decision makers, and who would say no to effectively ending veteran homelessness. So it's really gives me a sense of pride, and I hope it does for others, and optimism, because today, by the numbers, the state of New Jersey is investing more, doing more, and I would argue achieving more than at any time in our history for veterans, service members, and their families.
So it's an exciting time to be you, right?
Yes, sir.
Vince, we're going to take our next break, our last break. I know there's still a lot more to talk about. We've got a book here, resource guide that you mentioned that we want to talk about, right? But we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we'll join Vince for more great information for helping our veterans here in New Jersey.
Capital Health's primary care network continues to grow, bringing its extensive option of locations to your neighborhood. Whether you're scheduling a wellness checkup or not feeling well, advanced medicine starts with a Capital Health primary care doctor at locations near you in Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. To find a Capital Health primary care location that's convenient for you, visit capitalmedicalgroup.org. That's capitalmedicalgroup.org. Hamilton Township in Mercer County is fortunate to have many fine businesses that serve our community. Saul Funeral Home is a fourth-generation family-owned business proud to support our local schools and community. Their compassionate and caring staff is there for you and your family. They'll bring the closure you deserve while also celebrating the life of your loved one. Visit their website at saulfuneralhomes.com. That's saulfuneralhomes.com. Saul Funeral Home at 3795 Nottingham Way, Hamilton Square. Merrill Reese here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford-Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford-Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Well, welcome back to This Month in Hamilton. Want to again start out by thanking our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman Ford and Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. So Vince, we've talked a lot about veterans. We've talked a lot about, Effective Zero, right, and mental health. Your first segment, we talked about how we've got deployed people coming home, right, about to be reunited with their family members. I want to talk a little bit about support for family members, right, and whether that's through the Guard, whether that's through the department. But first, let's talk about, because even the resource guide for veterans talks about support for family members. So just touch on, support on family members, right? And clearly it's a goal of the governors and the generals to support family members too.
That's right. And as a veteran yourself, how many times have folks maybe said to you when you were in a uniform, or even now, thank you for your service? And I appreciate that. Whenever someone stops me to say thank you for your service, I always say thank you for caring. But then I think sometimes, does the spouse get that, or the mom, or the father, or the brother, or the sister, right? We don't thank the families enough for their service.
Yeah.
The service member, like you and I, signed a contract, and we made a commitment with Uncle Sam. They didn't sign a contract, right? They came along for the ride, and if you're like me, or anyone who's listening, we didn't probably tell our families what to expect. They just kind of found out along the way. And I think about my experience, and I have nothing but gratitude for my family for the support that they provided me. But I know it wasn't always easy, and so we do have an obligation to support the families of active duty service members, reserve component, and that includes the United States Army Reserve, as well as the Army and the Air National Guard, which is another part of the reserve. And so what does that look like in the state? Well, one, on the installations, on Joint Base McGuire-Dix-Lakehurst, to a lesser extent on Picatinny Arsenal in northern New Jersey, we do have programs for active duty service members for their families. It's called Morale, Welfare, Recreation, MWR, and lots of opportunities for families to get engaged and for children to be included in the life of those installations. Separate from that, there's the Family Readiness Center, which is located not far from Hamilton, and that's in Bordentown on Route 206. And so the Family Readiness Center is operated by the New Jersey National Guard.
Oh, wow.
But all families are welcome to stop there. All active, reserve, National Guard, we view it as a service to our community. Folks can go there to get ID cards. They can go there to access financial counseling, as some people need. And all that, umbrella of services we describe in the resource guide that I mentioned earlier. So I'm so proud, together with the Governor's Council on Substance Use Disorder, which used to be called JCATA. In 2005, my department and the National Guard published a book like this during the I guess that would have been OIF2 or OIF3 time period, and it was the Bible for families, oftentimes when folks were away. Fast forward to 2019, and I wasn't in my job here yet. I started on Friday the 13th, January 2023. My grandmother loved that day. And but 2019, I was working in veteran services, and I met some folks who really missed the edition, and we needed an updated one. So we got back together with the Governor's Council on Substance Use Disorder, called JCATA then, created, Neil Van Ness as their chair, member of the military or the Purple Heart, created an update to the book, and then we continued to update it digitally. So just this year, we did another run of printing, and we've got thousands of these books, Mayor. If folks want a copy, they can access a digital version at nj.gov/military, or we're happy to bring it to their American Legion post, their town hall, their church. We want this in the hands of as many family members, service members, and veterans as possible.
Over 300 pages. This must have been, it tells you the commitment, right, of the department to put together something that's over 300 pages of resources for, as you said, the service members, the veterans, and their families.
But I also think, thanks for saying that, but I also think it speaks to, you're right, 300 pages for folks watching. It speaks to the values of our state, right? That our 9.3 member big New Jersey family, we don't just say thanks for your service, carry on. And in my job, surprise, surprise, I don't know about yours, sometimes you run into cynics and you run into naysayers.
Never as a mayor. It does not happen.
Probably you more than me. But although I think you get 10 veterans in a room, they're going to find 10 problems, 10 different solutions. My stakeholders, the partners, I love them. But what I'm trying to articulate is it's easy oftentimes to focus on, where we fell short, which I fall short every day as a person. I'm sure as a department we fall short every day. But look at this. Look at the benefits, the programs, the services, and the larger commitment of communities up and down the state to helping people who are wearing the uniform or who have worn it or who love them. So it's, to me, where I find the enthusiasm and the joy in what I do is drawing strength from the thousands of acts of kindness and generosity that are happening all around us.
And you think about it, right? For all the different, just opening up a page here, Seashore Family Services of New Jersey, right? Each day, they're probably helping a veteran. And you
Right.
think about 300 pages of organizations and programs and things like that. The commitment to, you said, the people from the state of New Jersey to help those who have
Yes.
served and their loved ones.
And here in Hamilton, I don't need to tell you or folks who are listening or watching, but you've got a great veterans community that, the park to me is probably the biggest
Pinnacle of it, right?
manifestation of it. And I recall some old timers not that long ago who were on my case because they wanted a new tank for the park and this and that. We pointed them in the right direction, but that passion that people bring to it, it's here in Hamilton.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
I live in Monmouth County. It's where I live. I was in Newark. I could be in Salem, and I'm just I'm so blessed, right? And when I say I could be in Hamilton, Newark, or Salem, in November I actually did a 21 county tour.
Oh, wow.
And inspired by Senator Cory Booker, I thought, okay, I'm going to visit all 21 counties. My team laughed at me when we were like halfway through, and I'm like, oh, why did I agree to do this? But we met with veterans up and down the state. We learned about their concerns, talked about bringing veterans home, the Homelessness Prevention Initiative, got really good feedback, right, from folks on the local level. And I was in Sussex County, I was in Cape May, and their needs are different, their solutions are different, but their commitment is the same. And I think that is remarkable and worth lifting up.
Well, that's such an interesting point, right? The needs and the resources, and I shouldn't say resources, right? But definitely the needs or the manifestation of those needs in Salem County are different than Newark, are different than Warren County, are different than even in Monmouth County if you're in Long Branch or something like that, right? It's got to be a challenge, but it's got to be almost a fun challenge from where you sit, right? To try to strategize and think of, we have that need, but now we got to solve it 4 or more different ways because of just where people live geographically, right? Or what their community's made up of. And I know we talking about partnerships, right? And the local organizations that are on the ground floor, how important they must be to solving those too.
Yes, and you have to listen. As in anything, you can go into a place and talk at people and say, look, I got my book, have a copy, we're going to end homelessness, thank you for your service, you're a fine American. All true, but what I have found is by listening, that's where my team, our department, General Mays, down from all different levels, when we're doing it well, we're able to understand that in Salem County, the needs of a rural veteran are going to be different than the needs of a veteran in one of our cities. But the most really interesting thing, Mayor, is that oftentimes those needs sometimes come back together. So things that you might think Salem is diametrically different than Newark. Well, when I started my job, neither of those places had a veteran service office.
Wow.
So it was about accessibility. It was about making sure that people who maybe they didn't own their own personal vehicle, that they could get to an office, meet with an accredited service officer, and start accessing their benefits. We worked really hard in 23 and 24 to level the playing field, to create points of entry to state benefits programs and services that everyone could access. And today, as we embark upon the Homelessness Prevention Initiative, as we continue our work fostering mental health resilience, that is the foundation, right? We got to equity. Now let's work this program based on the different needs of those communities.
So let's talk about some of the other programs, right? We spent a lot of time talking about solving homelessness, right? We've talked about mental health support. We've talked about the resource guide, right? But just highlight for our listeners, right? Some of the other programs, some of the other events, some of the other services that you're really proud of or excited about, that you're involved in or the department's involved in that you'd want people listening to know about.
Well, I'm actually going to just maybe take the aperture back and talk about an achievement of the federal government.
Sure.
So this year, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs expanded eligibility for veterans health care, the biggest expansion really in the history of the VA. And what that means is that if you served after September 11th, 2001, and you were deployed, you were likely exposed to toxic chemicals. I was burn pits, sign up for the burn pit registry. If folks were around them, they should. But that expansion of eligibility, it now covers most of our veterans. And so I bring it up that if anyone is listening, go to va.gov, talk to one of our veteran service officers, because we need people to enroll in VA healthcare, which is different than applying for disability compensation. There are benefits and access that individuals have earned through their service. And so I think the biggest game changer in 24 was the Biden administration's expansion under the PACT Act of VA healthcare eligibility, so that now almost anyone who wore a uniform, if they served on active duty, and in some cases if they just served in the National Guard, it depends where they were, they are eligible to enroll in VA healthcare, and I would encourage people to do that.
Awesome. I know getting down to the granular level, right? We partnered with a VFW in town, right, and hosted veteran seminars to get people connected with VSOs, right, to make sure they were aware of their potential to apply for those benefits as well, right? But so important. Glad you highlighted it.
Yep, and you got a great VFW post. I've made some good decisions there and then some not so good decisions. But I had a ride, and I'm grateful that one let me back in the next time I was there.
There you go. There you go. So we just have a few moments left. So any other services you quickly just want to highlight or touch upon, or things you want to make people know the department's working on?
Well, I would say one, if you have any questions about what we've talked about today, nj.gov/military. If you have got questions that you want an answer to, that's my job. Reach out, send us a message. I will get back to you. I'll answer your questions. And in a broad sense, I would hope that folks listening or watching know that we are all in the fight to help Guard and State Service members, veterans, and their families. If you wore a uniform, if you're wearing a uniform, if you love someone who wore a uniform, the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs and the larger state, our job's to be there for you to the best extent that we can. And again, privileged to do it, and it's the best job in the state of New Jersey.
Well, be careful. You might have people gunning for your job now. You know? Sometimes you get what you ask for. But
that's right.
Vince, I really just want to thank you for agreeing to come on today. You know, again, as we get into the holiday season, so important, especially on the mental health front, right? For veterans, their loved ones, to know there are people out there who care, there are people out there who are willing to help, and there are services out there for them. So thank you so much for highlighting those and talking about all the different things the department has going on. And want to thank all of you for listening. And if you know somebody who's serving, who may need any services, as Vince said, please go to their website. Please find their resource guide, right? It's got a ton of information. We want to make sure everybody out there who needs help gets help. And so with that, I want to thank WBCB 1490 AM for giving us that platform to make sure we broadcast that information out to not only our Hamilton community, but our greater Hamilton community here in Mercer County. So I want to thank WBCB 1490 AM. I want to thank our sponsors, Capital Health System, Haldeman, Ford-Subaru, Saul Funeral Home, and Kessel Dermatology. Again, want to wrap with wishing you, each and every one of you, a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever holiday you spend, and Happy New Year. Enjoy it, be safe, and with that, we will see you in 2025.